மறக்காம சர்ப்ரைஸ் பண்ணுங்க. Thank you.
Welcome back, everyone. In this video, we're going to see another very direct and pretty straightforward tactic. But before we get to that, I do want to talk about some details in the opening. We have another pretty straightforward London line. After Black immediately plays c5, White plays e3, trade happens on d4, and then both sides develop. I want to make a point of White's next move here, Queen e2, which isn't the most typical move that you see from White early on in the London. Normally you'll see something like knight d2 or c3 or kingside castle, but I do admire Queen e2 because it aims to stay flexible. And White isn't committing to perhaps one thing, simply improving the queen, maybe considering castling queenside at some later point in the middle game. But Queen e2 also has a prophylactic idea. It's preventing a very typical idea that Black wants to play at some point, this move knight h5. And we'll see why it prevents knight h5 very soon. Let's get to the position after castle, knight bd2, and now Black falls for the trap, knight h5, which walks straight into White's tactic. I do want to say knight h5, of course, very typical idea for Black, attempting to trade off the knight for this good bishop on f4. However, White has a very strong continuation here. Before I show what the continuation is, I do want to explain that a lot of players get caught up in the wrong calculation here. I have shown this position to many students, and many of my students get fixated on this move bishop take h7, and then spend a long time calculating king take h7, knight g5, and then lines with queen take h5. And it is maybe a somewhat interesting variation, but it doesn't lead to anything for Whites. And this is a common mistake that I've seen in, especially among amateur players when they calculate. Sometimes they get caught up in one variation, they spend so much time on one variation, it doesn't work, they get frustrated, then they settle for maybe a quieter move, maybe like bishop e3 or bishop g3. But in this position, White has a very, very strong alternative idea, not involving the target on h7, but involving this target on b8. And this position is all about identifying targets. This knight on b8 can be captured by the bishop. And meanwhile, the knight on h5, also a target not defended in the position. So the idea for White involves a very simple double attack. Strongest move, bishop take b8, rook take b8, and then the very simple queen e5 with the double attack, utilizing the whole board. A lot of players will miss this idea because they're either too focused on the king side or maybe too focused on the queen side, and they don't see the whole board. So it's very important to be able to see the geometry, especially when you have a queen that can come into the center like this, queen being the most powerful piece, and White just winning material here. So going back, knight h5 was not a very good move from Black. Black should start out with something like knight c6, getting rid of the target on b8. White can then happily play c3, and perhaps I can just quickly discuss if knight h5 is played, White should probably not concede the bishop pair and play a move like bishop e3. Even though the bishop looks a bit passive on e3, the knight is very awkward on h5. And it's very likely in this sort of position White is ready to castle queenside and maybe use this knight on the king side as fuel, perhaps considering ideas like g4, h4, knight g5, and it looks like a pretty fun attack for White. So just to wrap things up here, when you're playing chess and your opponent puts a piece on a square that's not defended, you want to be very aware of the potential captures, the potential targets, and in many cases, an undefended piece can lead to a simple tactic like this. So, hope you guys enjoyed that, and I'll see you in the next lesson.
மறக்காம சர்ப்ரைஸ் பண்ணுங்க. Thank you.